of course, Ashish Hemrajani here. You have Vivian Lewitt, a Global Head of Artists YouTube, and you have Virav Sarkari of Wizcraft. So, great panel here to talk about this with, at the forefront of live event economics. We're going to have to shout over the live event next door, but I think we'll manage to do that. So Ashish, let me start with you. Is the kind of response, and of course you've been seeing this for a long time, doing this for a long time, the kind of response we've seen in 2024 to live events and Coldplay on the top of that pyramid, is that something that you were prepared for, or were you also taken aback?
Thank you for having me. Firstly, a correction. The 641 or 650 crores number was the economic impact that the city of Ahmedabad saw. That wasn't really the revenue. The revenue which was direct was about 320 or 350 crores, and the GST impact was about 72 crores. So there's a little bit of a correction there. Look, let me try and contextualize this. And I may be politically slightly insensitive here, but I mean, it's just, look at the intent and not the words. You know, India is 4 Indias, and I keep saying this. One India is the London of India, which is about 5 to 6 million Indians, which have the highest purchasing power parity and are at the highest end of the percentile globally. You've got about 50 to 55 million Indians, which I call the United Kingdom of India. Between this cohort, which is English speaking, private healthcare, private education, travels, studied abroad, they control about 60 to 65% of the GDP of the country and about 75% of the consumption of the country, maybe even 80%. There is about 450 million Indians, which I call the Brazil of India, which is the emerging middle class, where the annual, the monthly household income was about $100 till about 15 years ago. That has grown 4.5x to about $450. And if you were to contextualize that, the purchasing power parity, you just multiply that by 4 in a US context. So that's about $2,000 a month. And then there's the Africa of India, which is underserved parts of society, which you can only do CSR and plow back and give back to society. So this cohort existed in India all along. It's just that it was this untapped potential of 65% of the youth, which is below the age of 35. It's the youngest demographic which sits in the country, which is exposed to platforms like YouTube. The YouTube of India is YouTube, unlike China. The Facebook of India is Facebook. The Instagram of India is Instagram. And they're exposed to all of this. So when you mention that, is it at the cost of each other? Actually, they work in tandem. We do a lot of work with YouTube, and there's data, there's analytics. Kids watch concerts online and they have the same aspirations, and then they want these shared experiences. So I think it's something that goes hand in hand, and it wasn't a surprise when we were working on the cohorts and the demographic over the years that there is this market share and market out there. It's just that you have to get the pricing right, you have to get the product right, the content right, and more importantly, the infrastructure. And I think that's, if you get that intersection right, I think you've got a big marketplace.
I think when Coldplay was first announced and the tickets got booked out, the biggest question was that, are the guys booking the tickets even people who listen to Coldplay? A lot of elitist jokes also came in that, who are these guys? You know, is it aspirational? Are they actually fans, or do they just want to be seen there? And it gave you a sense of the appetite, isn't it?
Look, there was a lot of things that was said during that booking phase about us and about this, and I think that's a little bit of maturity that is needed in the market. We are 1.4 billion Indians. It's a huge country. We had millions of people that were in the queue trying to buy. In Bombay, it was 50,000 into 3 shows. That's 150,000. In Ahmedabad, it was about 110,000 into 2 shows. That's 210,000 tickets, 220,000 tickets. So we're talking about 340, 370,000 tickets. Now, there was a lot that was said. The queue is transparent. The token numbers were transparent. We have every customer's email ID, mobile number, device ID, transaction ID, and home address, because we deliver the tickets to your home.
No, I'm talking about the appetite of that
supply
content.
Demand. Yeah. So the supply demand, if you see the numbers on YouTube today, You see the numbers of streaming for a band like Coldplay. They are the world's biggest band. They're the highest ticketed band. And we have a large population, which is now discerning young demographic, which has disposable income. Where does the math go wrong? It's just that somebody didn't look at it.
Yeah. No, the appetite is there. The math is very much there. You know, Viraf, of course, the Coldplay experience is most recent. Everyone's been talking about it, but this is something that's building, right? Apart from concerts, stand-up, live events are here to stay. And the juxtaposition I was talking about, you also have an industry like the movie industry, cinema halls, which are wondering how to get people in. So the appetite is there, it's just for something slightly different in terms of a live event.
I think the audiences are looking for something different. Movies and cricket are the two things that were selling like hotcakes always. But the Gen Z population, that the crowd that is there, that particular segment of people are looking for experiences. And they get a different kind of feeling when they're actually attending something live. So I think it's shifting towards live because people want to experience something different. And that's what I think is driving people to the live entertainment business.
Yeah, yeah. Vivian, how do you look at what we are here seeing as a resurgence or a coming of age of the live event space in India? Is this something that you've been observing very closely?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an observation here. I had friends asking me to help get them tickets to the Coldplay shows because their families were in those queues and they couldn't access them. So absolutely, but it's also something you see globally. You know, there's nothing that replaces the feeling of being at a live show. Whether you're in a tiny venue, I was at a huge venue for 2 weekends, last week and the week before, for Coachella. YouTube live streams Coachella. This was our 13th year of live streaming Coachella. Coachella actually grew to a 2-weekend festival after they began live streaming on YouTube. So indicative of the great stage that is in front of you is not everyone can get there, right? And so you've got to think about the digital space not as something that would replace people being there live physically. I think quite to the contrary. I completely agree with you. I think the post-pandemic, post-COVID, you see more and more of the I want to be in person, I want to be community building that way. But it is augmented by what can happen in a digital space or a broadcast space where you know you're delivering to people across the globe experiences that they couldn't have. You know, I would take Coachella as an example. In 2024, 50% of their views on the festival came from ex-US. They were global. You know, the way that those shows and festivals are booked now are intentionally done to reach fans all over the world. You know, Hanuman Kind was at Coachella this year. Diljit Singh was there last year. So it's really a phenomenon that is complementary to being physically present. But I'm a live concert goer. There's nothing that will ever replace that.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think we're ready for our own Coachella here in India, or we're some time off?
Yes, yes, I do. I already brought it up at Coachella. I can't say it's going to happen, but I did this year tell them that I was coming to the Waves Festival and that they should think about India, at least in the next 5 years.
Yeah, I think we can get a headline out of this, Ashish.
Why are you forgetting Lollapalooza? We've got Lollapalooza.
We do.
And
true.
we have 60 bands that come from across the world, where we've had bands like Imagine Dragons, we had Green Day.
Yes.
I mean, we've had Sting play at Lollapalooza. We have, you know, let me tell you another statistic. We had Hanuman Kind who played at Lollapalooza. He played at Coachella. We've had AP Dillon play at Lollapalooza, India. He played at Coachella. And this is our 3rd successful year with 60,000 people every day. And we're growing the festival. I mean,
Plus you have Travis Scott coming in October, who headlines Coachella this year.
Yes. And so, thank you. So that's happening in Delhi. And then, so we've got Lollapalooza, we've got Bandland, which happens in Bangalore, which is a rock festival where we revived rock. You've got Asia's largest electronic dance music festival, which is Sunburn, which we do for the 17th year in a row. So I think we've got some homegrown as well as international festivals. The thing with Coachella is, whatever that I know, and they're friends of ours, that it doesn't travel, right? It's at Palm Springs. It happens in over 2 weekends, helped by what YouTube has done, and now, it's grown bigger and bigger. And Lollapalooza travels across the world. So I think each festival has its own unique USP. And look, we'd love to have more festivals come to India.
Yeah, so which is what, not exactly Coachella in India, but our own homegrown version. And it could be a mix of things, that kind of an experience, because culturally, Indians have always loved those kind of experiences. But on that scale, you think the time is ripe for something like that, Viraf?
I think, yeah, why not? I mean, we can create our own festival, which is IP owned by India and created, and then invite artists from across the world. It can be done.
Yeah.
And don't see why it cannot be done.
Let's talk about what we need to make it happen, because in terms of supply and demand, just in terms of the number of venues, the appetite that we're seeing there, and you spoke briefly, Ashish, about the kind of demand that you saw for Coldplay compared to the size of the population. How do we now scale up with the opportunity we have? Because there is a huge opportunity. You need venues, you need more artists, you need more people to have access to something that we now know there is a demand for. How do we make that happen? Let me start with you.
I think infrastructure is extremely important. Right now, wherever these big concerts are happening at sporting stadiums. And sometimes you don't get access to it because there's some other season going on, there's IPL going on, or some football matches going on. I think if we start creating arenas and stadiums in India, I think that's the first point. And then I think from the government perspective, like a single window licensing policy, if they give us that, I think it will really ease out the process.
Yeah. There's some good thoughts there. Ashish, what can we be doing to make this bigger and better?
Look, let me start from the artist side, right? Everything else follows. The artist is at the center of why we do what we do. And I think the challenge in India has been that at the ground up level, we haven't built a culture of venues for live. To give you an example, anywhere else in the world, you've got artists which can play to a 50-person room, they migrate to a 100-person, graduate to a 500-person room, go to a 1,500-person room, go to an arena, a small arena, then a big arena, then becomes a stadium or a festival act. The challenge with India is that we've got 6,000 years of history of culture and music, right? We've got the gharanas, we've got the music, we've got all of that. But it hasn't scaled at a global level. YouTube and all the OTT platforms are actually the ones that can provide this springboard to take it to the world where the sound becomes global. That's why you had the Afro sound. That's why you had the Latino sound. You've had K-pop. Otherwise, why would Korean music sitting out of one geography become so popular anywhere else in the world? Or J-pop, for that example. It's platforms like YouTube which actually do that and push it out there to the rest of the world. It becomes a sound that you start appreciating, collaborations happen. But on the live side, we haven't seen independent musicians being able to scale up, and therefore festivals like Lollapalooza, Bandland, Sunburn provide Indian artists that ability to scale up where you've got 60,000 people and you start exposing that sound on the big stage. To give you a sense, in the last fiscal, Book My Show did 40 to 50 of the large shows which came in, international shows, right? But we did 900 shows for Indian artists. Across college, 900, nobody knows that. But they were in smaller rooms, in college venues. But we need to provide them the ability to scale up from going from a 500-person room. They potentially can't go to a 60,000 or a stadium. What do we do in between? And I think that's where we suffer. Except for bars and small places, venues, there isn't that culture of this live music in terms of these venues where you can go out in an evening for live music, right? Now, coming to the infrastructure thing that we spoke about earlier, I think it's just not stadiums and single window clearances and state governments, but it's also at the local level. It's the municipal corporation where we get a lot of support in Bombay, law enforcement, licensing, and there's a whole bunch of things there. But also, you've got to see the infrastructure, what has gone up in terms of airports and airlines. You need mass transportation. You need transportation to the venue and outside, which is ingress and egress. You need metro lines that go under a venue. You need road networks which take, and when you do a tour within India, if you're doing a 10-city tour, how do you move 40 containers on trucks which get there in 8 hours? It's challenges like these. How do you get shore power? How do you get toilets? You don't need to use portaloos, but you need toilets which go into the sewage system. I think there's a lot more that is required in terms of infrastructure. We've got cricket stadiums, we've got sporting stadiums, we need multi-use. We've done that with the world's biggest cricket stadium, which is the Narendra Modi Cricket Stadium, where we had 110,000. We hit a world record of the largest ticketed concert anywhere in the world. But it was hard if we didn't have the support from the Gujarat government and the BCCI and the president of the Gujarat Cricket Association. Never in the history of India has a turf and the pitch been used to have a concert of this scale and size. But it was hard work. But I'm saying there is a potential. But before that, we need to solve other issues as well.
Yeah, no, well said. And, you know, big hand for what we've done in Ahmedabad. I mean, that's just fantastic. In fact, the Prime Minister said very clearly about that, you know, we should promote and boost live concerts in India. And, of course, that's something we need to do. You want to come in on this, Vivin, on what we can do to tap this hunger?
Yeah, sure. You know, the festival business is not easy, even when you have the infrastructure. You know, I think there's a couple of things that stand out. One is something that Ashish just said about scaling artists up. That's critical, right? You can't move an artist from a 500-person room or a 50-person room if they don't have the fans who are going to come in and buy the tickets. Then you have, so let's assume you can do that, but how many artists can you do that with? Can you do it with enough artists that appeal to enough different people that are part of the festival ticket buying public that they will come? The next part of it is the cost analysis. It's expensive. Like these festivals that even in a stadium, it's a little bit different, but you've got to like build from the ground up. You know, I'm going to take a festival in Paris called We Love Green. Small festival, small park, built up slowly over time. It's 100% green, sustainable. It takes investment, huge investment, and it takes the time to build up the scale of the artists, plus the cachet and the name of the festival itself. So the festivals become brands. Lollapalooza, Coachella, Outside Lands in Chicago, Sunburn in Goa. Like they become brands in and to themselves so that people want to go and be there just to experience the community of sharing time together in that space. And so, you know, you kind of have to think about it from the perspective of that artist that Ashish was referencing. To think about starting it from the perspective of a homegrown, we're going to try to attract 100,000 people for a weekend. I would suggest starting a little bit on the smaller side, scaling the artists up as you're doing it, building the economy around it, and then hitting that kind of a pinnacle of festival size.
You know, we've talked about it from the perspective of the artist. Let's also talk about it from the perspective of those coming to experience this. And with everything in India, and I'm sure this is across festivals over the world, when there's a large group of people coming, then what the experience and the infrastructure is like. And here, Ashish, I want your perspective, and then of course I'll come around the panel on how we can improve this. In terms of crowds going in and out, in terms of, I mean, we're in a country that's hot most of the time, and these are all, you know, open air. How many ever stalls you put out, there's going to be a line of 1,000 waiting. How have you been thinking about how these experiences can improve over time?
Look, you've hit the nail on the head. We have a 6-month to a 7-month season. We only operate for large events and festivals and concerts and stadium shows from October to about April, and we're pushing the envelope with Guns N' Roses in May, right? It's May 17th. Everybody's going to come in a Ganji and t-shirt and flip-flops, right? And we're putting spray cannons for water. We always give free water at all our festivals and all our concerts. Most people profit here. All water at Book My Show festivals. If you have your cuppable cup, which is a recyclable cup, your water is for free. We don't charge you for water. And we've always done that. And what we also realize is when kids come in early and they stand right in front, at the front of the house, whether it's a festival or a show, we now bring the water to you. In Ahmedabad and in Bombay, for every show, we provided 15,000 liters of water by people bringing the water to the kids in front because they didn't want to leave their place, right? I don't know what they were doing about the toilets, who did what with their toilet, you know, what they were doing. I don't want to know if they were wearing diapers, but we got the water in front. Now, as far as infrastructure is concerned, see, look, we have a 7-month season or a 6-month season. So that's one challenge. We need more indoor venues, we need more arenas. And because of that, the international global touring market, it's quite restrictive because most of the global touring in Europe and the US happens in summer, and we can't do anything in summer because it's monsoons and it's very hot. Coming to the other thing, I can only tell you as a sailor, I race boats, I've been sailing for 35 years. I can't moan and complain about the wind, I can't complain about the tides, I can't complain about the heat. The only thing I can do is adjust my sails, right? That's what sailors do. So even at Book My Show, that's the philosophy that we have. The venues don't provide for mass transport system. When we did Coldplay in DY Patil, we went to the Indian Railways, supported by Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav, who's been phenomenal, and the Secretariat. They had the Kumbh Mela, but they still gave us trains which ran from Bombay city with a new routing, stopping at a certain place, and we had 2 trains on the weekend and 3 trains on the weekday, which was specific only for the Coldplay concert. And we transported nearly 40% of the people, traveled by trains, which was a special train. The other thing, we work with the municipal commissioner for the center ground. In the center ground at the Turf Club, because we don't have a metro line that goes under, the Bombay Police and the traffic department opens up the tunnel and keeps it open beyond the normal working hours. Number 2, they give us extra parking spots. Number 3, we run a train which comes to Mahalakshmi and we incentivize kids that come for Lollapalooza that if you take the train, you get 1 free drink or 1 free cold drink if you're below legal drinking age. And you pick up your coupon at the Mahalakshmi railway station. And then we have volunteers where we block that road and people come in. So more than 60% of people actually take public transport to come to the concert because there is no parking for Lollapalooza. For Ahmedabad, because Kumbh was on and there aren't enough flights that go into Ahmedabad, we redirected extra flights to cities like Bombay and other cities, and then we had extra long distance trains that were running to Ahmedabad because there weren't enough hotel rooms. So look, we're doing what we can. What the growth of India and the infrastructure development that you have seen, and I keep telling people, if you haven't been to India in the last 2 years, you're coming to a different country or a different city. And the pace of change and the rate of growth is faster than growth itself in India today. The economy is growing at 8.5%. Under the Prime Minister, look at the development that has happened. Look at Bombay as a city. The Chief Minister's development agenda for the coastal road today and the extension can only ease traffic. Be patient, give it another 5 years. We've got to do the catching up. I think the government is running faster than us today. It used to be the other way around.
No, absolutely. The government is clear with that push. We need to dream bigger and scale bigger. Just talking about DY Patil and the kids there, because I was at that concert and the kids, this is how they get to the front. I'm looking for my parents, they're waiting for me. And then I caught up and I said, where are your parents? And they were just making it up. So it was a lot of stories from the concert. But just in terms of what we can do to improve the experience. And in price points as well, Virat, that's a point that Vivian made, that make it accessible to everyone. Obviously, if it's a huge international act, it's going to cost more. But make sure live events and those experiences are accessible to more people. How do we do that?
I think the overall pricing of everything has to be down. And you have to make it affordable so that the more and more people are able to, they can afford to buy the tickets, and then you will see the crowd coming in. So right from the price that you pay to the artist, to the production costs, etc., everything has to be kept under control so that you are able to pass on that benefit to the audience, and then you will get the larger return, which is the numbers will come more. You know, so I think that's what one needs to do to make it affordable and reasonable.
Yeah. There's no problem of numbers here, no matter what the tickets are priced at, as we've seen.
The people are willing to pay. There's a certain segment of people are willing to pay top dollar, and then certain people who are willing to pay, want to be there, but can't afford that much. So I think cater to everybody. So
Well, I'm being asked to wrap it up. We are out of time, but thank you so much to all of you.
I wanted to make one final point. What Vivian said, shows which are getting more immersive are only getting bigger. The one constant that you can't change, artists are not going to get cheaper. So that's bullshit. If we believe that artists are going to get cheaper, they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
No, and why should they?
It's expensive, right? And we owe it to them. Global touring is becoming more and more complex. It's becoming harder. What we need to do is to make sure that you get the math right in terms of at Coldplay or at Lollapalooza or at Travis Scott. Our floor pricing is 6,500 rupees, which is sub $80. And we pay an 18% GST on top, which is one of the highest in the world. It used to be 28, but the government of the day has actually brought it down. But it's still very high. Infrastructure costs are higher for us. In spite of that, if you look at a long-term build for the market and investing in the market and creating an industry, this is your contribution to that. If you start charging $200 for floor pricing, I think you're just jipping consumers. So at 6,500, 7,000 rupees, I think we're at the lowest end of the market, even though our expenses are higher. And it ain't getting cheaper with global artists because the concerts are bigger, the productions are bigger. So I think we've got to work harder on the production, on the infrastructure to actually find dollars in terms of the revenues that you need to make.
Yeah.
And I think, live streaming is one great example on how you can augment those revenues.
Yes.
I completely agree. And there are new technologies on YouTube that we're using to engage more audiences around the world. So there's a feature called Watch With. So a creator in India could actually pipe onto their own channel a live stream that's happening from somewhere else, and vice versa. So you can take, when you think about ways to engage globally, whether it's bringing people in or exporting content, that kind of collaborative approach, even in a live moment, you can access audiences that are bigger, and that just ups the ante. It ups the ante more for the artists to want to come here and do these shows. And to Ashish's point, they're going to come in with their production. They're not going to come to perform without their rig and their videos, and they're not going to drop their show quality in their perception down to play here. They want it to be spectacular, so it's expensive. So you have to think about ways that you can enhance the on the ground experience with some other world, bigger audiences approach too.
That's one great way, and I don't think Indian audiences want a subpar or a lower quality experience either. It has to be the same, whether you're seeing it in Abu Dhabi or in Ahmedabad. But thank you so much to all of you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
And I hope you guys enjoyed this session.
Thank you so much to all the speakers and the moderator for making this session a very insightful one. I now request Mr. Raviraj Sartapi to please join us on the stage. He's the director from Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, for the felicitation of all the speakers and the moderator. A huge round of applause for all the speakers for such an insightful and interesting session as they talked about evolving future of live events, tech innovation, and a lot more, and we got to hear right from the horse's mouth. I request everybody to please come together for a quick photo opportunity. All right, moving on towards our next session of day 2 of Waves, that happens to be the last session of the day. It talks about future of entertainment, OTTs fueling innovative storytelling, tech innovations, viewer experiences, and stretching the boundaries along with OTTs, which is over the top, versus the big screen. And to talk about this, I would now like to invite on stage Mr. Nikhil Madhok, who's the head of Originals India Prime Video. A huge round of applause from Mr. Madhok. I would also take the opportunity to invite Mr. Gaurav Gandhi, the Vice President of Amazon Prime Video. A huge round of applause for Mr. Gandhi. Can we please have him on the stage? I now also invite Mr. Nikhil Advani, the creator and director. A huge round of applause for Mr. Advani as well. And to take this session forward, we also have with us on the stage Mr. Vikramaditya Motwani, who's the creator and director as well. A huge round of applause and a very warm welcome to Mr. Motwani. To take this forward, we have with us Mr. Sudeep Sharma, along with Ms. Shiv Desani, who happens to be the co-creator of Dupaiya. A huge round of applause for all the elite speakers who are present on the stage to take this session forward. And the moderator for this session is again Mr. Sanjay Pugalia, who is the director of NDTV Limited. Over to you, Mr. Pugalia.
हेलो एक बार माइक टेस्ट कर लेंगे सब लोग
हेलो हेलो
हेलो हेलो हेलो
ऑल सेट शुरू कर दें माइक सबका टेस्ट हो गया हेलो ठीक है Ji, good evening to everyone. This is one big panel, but it is going to be the most important and popular conversation for you all because all the right questions will be answered after yesterday Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi set a tone and agenda and gave a big task to this community that how India should become a global hub for creator economy, how it should replace Hollywood, not a small ambition. He spoke about scope and size and everything. It will be very interesting to know from Gaurav and his team and the filmmakers how to get there, and the kind of work they have done is exactly that. They are showing you India and they are telling you stories of India in a different language, in a different way, rooted in Bharat actually, and rooted in common man. That is the whole beauty of working with Prime Video and the other colleagues, that they have shown a formula. Don't call it formula, but it is most interesting playbook we must decode. First question to you, Gaurav. You started and there were challenges and trying to understand how to navigate this Indian market. But now you have developed a playbook. Best thing would be that you only explain to us how did you do it.
Thank you, Sanjay ji. First of all, I want to thank the Honorable Prime Minister and Ministry of Information Broadcasting for organizing Waves, which is a testament to how important our creative ecosystem is and how important the sector is to India, and Waves is a testament to that. So thank you, and thank you, Sanjay ji, for having us here. I think our journey in Prime Video in India is about a little over 8 years here. Has been amazing for us, great learning and lots of love from customers. When we started here, we realized that, and always everybody says that, to really make an impact in India, you have to really think local. And as a market and as a country, we are so diverse that there is no one local. So they have to think about local in multiple ways. Local languages, local milieu, local cultures, local taste. So we first started with saying, what are the gaps today? Or two gaps सामने आए. First gap was कि there were no cinematic, high quality cinematic value storytelling in India, which was there internationally, because there was no premium pay television here. Our television was always basic pay and linear channels in a particular way. So we were thinking about the fact that how do we create those stories here has not been done. Our filmmakers used to make amazing movies, but we had not done shows of that nature. So that was one area. Second we realized that there's a gap even in the movies. The fact is, India makes so many films, but we had limited number of screens, theatrical screens. So movies could not reach everyone. The third opportunity and gap we saw was the fact that everybody was locked into their language. So, and because structure of our industry was that कि आपके पे टीवी चैनल होंगे तो उनके पैक्स होंगे, वही पैक दे पाएंगे आप उसी लैंग्वेज के. आपके थिएटर्स कम हैं तो इस एरिया में आपकी फिल्में सिर्फ इस लैंग्वेज की चलेंगी. तो keeping these three things in mind, we basically said, you know, we should program across multiple languages and go not one by one. Let's go across the board and see what we can do there. We say, how do we make these high quality stories? We work with some amazing creators. Many of them are sitting here, and we thank them for that. And the third thing we did was the fact that what is now widely known as Pan India, you know, we said we should create that in ways where we intentionally try to say, how do we expand the linguistic palette of India? How can we make our customers sample, watch, love language, content across multiple languages? So, you know, so 60% of our customers actually in India watch across 4 languages today. So, wo intentionality ke sath we went into this. Of course, we have other things to play. We offer movie rentals and so on. But I think we built on that after the initial love that we got. And before I pass it on to others, I think stories की बात करी आपने. You know, very early we realized कि stories here, when you have to crack those high quality cinematic value stories in India, you can't just say कि I want to make genres. You have to say, what are the big themes? What are the big ideas? The rooted stories you talked about. So we looked at few broad big themes, and over time we evolved them and said, how do we bring those themes and genres together to get these stories out? And, you know, Nikhil can obviously add more color to this, as, you know, he and his team do an amazing job. But those are the initial things that we worked on, and we are very humbled that, you know, we've got so much love for our shows and movies, and yeah, it's only, you know, as we say in Amazon, it's only day one.
Very interesting. So, इसको एक अगर मास्टर क्लास समझना हो, क्योंकि हम लोग जितने लोग बैठे हैं हिंदुस्तान में, हर आदमी की इच्छा होती है कि फिल्म बनाना है या फिल्म में कुछ करना है. You are the gentleman who decides what story to pick. How do you do that?
So we actually look for 2 things, and it's at one level it's quite simple, at another level it's also complicated. We look for fresh, authentic, unique stories which are very true to the soil, which are uniquely Indian. And the second thing is you look for the passion in the creators, you know, and you can see it when you interact with them, how deeply they've thought about the story and the characters, and that passion many times, you know, we get inspired by. So those are 2 important considerations. But, you know, Gaurav referred to it. We early on realized that it's themes which are really important, and the genres are really, you know, I would say the theme is like the soul and the genre is the body. And that combination is what we look for. So let me make it a little more lucid for people here. One of the themes that we look for is, you know, in the space of women breaking stereotypes, women focused narratives. And in that space, I want to talk about a show which we've recently launched, which has received a lot of love, called Khauf. It's about, you know, the challenges that young women face when they come to live in a big city. It's also about dealing with past trauma. That's the theme. The genre of the story is horror. It could have been told in another genre as well, but the essence, the theme is around, you know, women facing those challenges and overcoming it. एक और theme है which is courage and valor in Indian stories. So that courage could be on the border in a movie like Shesha. It could be a doctor showing courage under fire in Mumbai Diaries. आपका protagonist family man हो सकता है मनोज बाजपेयी की तरह. He can be a honest cop like Hathiram Chaudhary in Patal Lok. Another theme, for example, is aspirations of Bharat. And we've told those stories in a genre of humor. पंचायत जो इतना पॉपुलर शो है, दुपहिया जो हमारा इस साल का ब्रेकआउट हिट शो है, उसको ह्यूमर के साथ उन कहानियों को बोला गया है. लेकिन उन्हीं कहानियों को ड्रामा के तौर पे भी बोल सकते हैं, जैसे कि एस्पिरेंट्स, वो उसी चीज़ को एक अलग तरीके से पेश करता है. But ये सब तभी possible है, or these stories are only possible when we have these amazing creators. There are no stories without these creators. And for us, what's really something that we're really proud of is that Prime Video has become the home for the finest storytellers in the country. And they are working again and again with us, which is something that really inspires me and my team. If you look at what Vikram created with Jubilee, such a wonderful show. Every frame of that show is so beautiful, so amazing, so well told. Nikhil has done 2 wonderful seasons of Mumbai Diaries for us, and now helming Revolutionaries, which is one of our most ambitious shows ever. Patal Lok is a streaming phenomena.
Absolutely.
And I want to just talk about these 2 ladies. It's not just about established creators. We're a platform for new voices. And Shubh and Salona, this was their first production as Bombay Film Cartel and as creators. So really proud of this.
Right. ये जो आपने न्यू फेनोमेना का कहा, ये भी हमको बहुत फैसिनेट करता है कि बहुत बड़ी इंडस्ट्री थी, पुरानी इंडस्ट्री थी, सबने अच्छा काम किया विथ ड्यू रिस्पेक्ट टू एवरीवन. बिल्कुल एक नई जनरेशन आई और वो किसी एस्टेब्लिश्ड घराने से, एस्टेब्लिशमेंट या जिसके बारे में कहते हैं एक अजीब सा लफ्ज़ बॉलीवुड, वहाँ के ओरिजिनल लोग नहीं थे, ये आउटसाइडर्स थे. उन्होंने कमाल का काम किया. टेक्नोलॉजी और इनोवेशन ने इसको एक तरीके से कहिए कि बिल्कुल अनलॉक कर दिया और एक डेमोक्रेटाइजेशन आपने देखा. तो सलोना एंड शुभा नहीं, क्रिएटर इकोनॉमी में भारत के बारे में जब बात करेंगे तो हिंदी की बातचीत सुनने में, समझने में आपको दिक्कत होनी नहीं चाहिए, क्योंकि भारत की बात हो रही है. इसीलिए इंग्लिश का जोर देना अब थोड़ा सा हम लोगों को कॉशियस हो जाना चाहिए. फिर भी they are free to reply in whatever language they want. I hope that is okay with all humility. Okay, so I will try to make it simpler for you. Democratization of OTT, because of OTT, democratization has taken place. That is why you have these wonderful filmmakers who have come out of absolutely unconventional background. How this democratization has taken place, that's what I want to understand from these 2 young filmmakers, Shubha and Salona.
Hi, good evening everyone. I'll try and answer in Hindi and English. I think for Salona and me, when we look at a story, when we read an idea, it's what is that story saying? With Dupaiya, we got the opportunity to tell a comedy, but about a crime-free village, which had issues of race, which had problems of dowry, but all of that was said in an accessible manner, in a tone that masses enjoy. And for Salona and me, we really lucked out that Prime Video was looking for stories like that. They understood the soul of the story. They understood the theme that we wanted to go with. And eventually we got to say it in a manner that was entertaining and wholesome. And I think that's what's got through to the audiences eventually. तो हाँ, as नए creators, पिचिंग करना, हासिल करना, ये कल्चर का पार्ट है. बट जब प्राइम वीडियो जैसे पार्टनर्स मिलते हैं जो कहानी का सोल समझते हैं, तो फिर आप वो कहानी को बेच नहीं रहे, आप वो कहानी को बस कह रहे हैं और वो समझ रहे हैं.
How prominent this one filter, that is woman gaze, looking things from woman gaze, has become important factor in choosing stories and going to these people and discussing these things. So would you talk about it?
Sure. So actually, I'll be honest, जब हमने कहानी सोची, we never thought of female gaze, male gaze. ये सच है. हमारे जो co-creators और writers हैं, they are 2 males. They have written very lovely female characters in Dupaiya. हाँ, ये हो गया because I think एक softness जो आ जाती है कभी-कभी, we would ask them questions के ये जो लड़की है ये ऐसी क्यों है, why can't she be like this? And also both Shubha and I come from a city. हम यहाँ पे रहे हैं, we've lived in Bombay. Both our writers lived in very different places. एक गोरखपुर से हैं, एक अलवर से हैं. So more than I would say female gaze, for us it was the small town and the city कि अगर हम भी ये enjoy कर सकते हैं और आपकी ताई जी जो उधर बैठी हैं वो भी enjoy कर लेंगी, then I think we are home. So it was more of that conversation. But अगर आप जैसे रेणुका जी का कैरेक्टर देखें या रोशनी का कैरेक्टर देखें, we were definitely trying to I wouldn't say consciously, लेकिन हाँ एक था कि अगर एक गांव की लड़की की जो
Little more
इच्छा है,
pronounced than usual.
yes, little bit more. I don't think we said female को ऐसे, but होते होते वो हो गया. And when we would have conversations with Amazon also, it is I think it's good that they say, you know, this should be very comfortable for everyone. We shouldn't assume कि ठीक है ना comedy है तो चल जाएगा. नहीं. You have to be conscious that if there is a girl with dark skin, why are you putting her there? It's not gimmicky. वो एक रीजन के लिए है जहाँ पे एक दूसरी लड़की जब ये देखेगी उसको लगेगा हाँ यार ये तो मेरी कहानी है. So we did that. We did it as naturally as we could.
Right. Let me go to Vikram. Just comprehend this for us, the kind of changes we are seeing in terms of storytelling from big screen to small screen to mobile. This journey is very complex for us. Now there are new opportunities. What is the larger trend where India and Indian filmmakers are going, and how this business, this sector is going to evolve? Why I'm asking this? Because generally the government used to look at this sector as one of the soft sector, not as a mainstream sector like auto or telecom or pharma or manufacturing. Now Prime Minister Modi has tried to give in that seriousness to it. From that perspective, I want your thoughts on this. Yeah, it's working. It's working.
So from where we were maybe 10 to 15 years ago, I think there was a one size. You could only make movies for the screen. You couldn't make them for anything other than that. And I think Prime Video and the other streaming services, what has now happened is that there's a freedom from a creative perspective to think beyond just that 2 hours in a movie theater. You can go and sing. You can make a crime series which is multiple seasons with a character, 10 episodes long. You can do a comedy series. You can do stuff about like what Nikhil and me have done in the past, whether it's something like Jubilee, which is about the film industry. Mumbai Diaries based in a hospital. There's so much freedom now to be able to tell these stories. So I think number one, from that perspective, we are at a stage where the filmmakers are just discovering the fact that there is this freedom to be able to go out there and do it. I don't think we've reached the place yet where this is blown up in a way where we can be able to take the full advantage, the fullest advantage as yet that we can. I believe that when that time comes, and I think the next stage for us is that the stories for them to work in India, first of all, but also to be able to take these stories now to an international platform, to be able to say this is the next generation of Indian storytelling that's going to come out of this country. We're not there yet. I think it's a matter of time before we do get there. And this diversity of storytelling, of storytelling formats, really helps us in being able to sort of go out there. So it's not, 10, 15 years ago, people would say, oh, Indian stuff is only Bollywood, and that's pretty much it. That stereotype has been broken, and I think over a period of time, it'll continue to break more and more as we see different kinds of shows, different kinds of movies, different kinds of series, different kinds of creators. I think the diversity on here itself alone is so much. Multiply this by all your creators out there, and you've got something really nice there.
True. Nikhil, you are currently working on Freedom Struggle movie, which is based on freedom struggle theme. So the whole idea of telling Indian story, not only to Indians, as he mentioned, but to a global audience. So how to get there?
I don't know, sir. I'm still trying. We are 42 days into the shoot. We still have a long way to go. This answer will possibly be better in next waves. If you invite me, I'll be able to tell you that the answer then. But no, I think there's research, the source material. I think jo source material, whenever you're doing anything to do with period, I think the richer the material is, the more authentic the material is, the more the research that has gone into the material is always a good starting point for us. I think that is very, very. I have done Rocket Boys, I've done Freedom at Midnight. Now I'm doing Revolutionaries. Madhok thinks that मेरे पास vintage car है, vintage props है, vintage clothes है, तो यही कर लेगा. So that's why he called. But No, seriously. So I think that it's always the source material. For me, even in Mumbai Diaries, it was about the source material. It was where we are starting from, how much research can we do, kitna authenticity kar sakte hai, do we need to keep it authentic. In the case of Revolutionaries, it's fun. I'm having a lot of fun. Usually, I think the first thing we decided is let's make history sexy. You know, let's make it fun and let's make it, because otherwise, if you're going to start giving a history lesson, the audience is just going to put off the nahi dekhna hai yaar, nahi sunna hai, hum log वैसे भी nahi karna, you know. So and I think what has been a wonderful this thing as far as the collaborations with Prime Video and other streaming is that who's watching. The data that people and a lot of filmmakers will turn around and say that, you know, I mean, at the end, for you to be, I think for me to be able to be as creative as possible, if I just know who I'm trying to make this for, where it's going to be seen, how they're going to be watching, it helps me to, and I think that there are enough, we are talented enough to try and shift it and turn it and make it into the story that we still want to say, but otherwise what's the point? You know, why if you're making it and आप घर पे खुद देख रहे हो और बोले wow, fantastic shot, what a beautiful shot, किसी ने नहीं देखा, you know. And I've had a lot of those things, which is कि मैंने बनाया और किसी ने देखा नहीं. तो I just feel that it's always the source material. It's always where you start from, and you just keep moving and we get more research. Wonderful thing is the internet. Wonderful thing is right now that you can just keep, you know, asking questions and keep sending. I mean, my research team is brilliant. So they challenge. The show is based on Sanjeev Sanyal's book, and my research team at one point started telling him, "Sir, आपको ऐसा लिखना चाहिए." ये नहीं था आपके पास, हम लोग ने पूछा. So it's like, so he's also, and he was so sporting that he said, "Oh, अच्छा ऐसा, okay, I'll do that in the next." You know, so I think that it's always a very good collaboration to have in terms of the when you're doing period and when you're doing a show like Revolution.
Yeah, this collab is very important. I'm curious to know one supplementary on this. You mentioned about you have got good researchers. Who are these young kids? Who are these guys?
They are young kids. They are young kids and they know how to use the internet better than anybody else. I mean, from setting up my email account and to do anything, they are fab. They are too good. I mean, and now
and they are talking history.
Yeah, and sir, they first when I told them I'm doing the why, ye kya kar rahe, one more period show we have to do, and then they got into, they've all read the history, they now know it by the back of their hand. You know, they are using AI, they are asking questions. Earlier I would think about a character when Madhok and I started talking about Revolutionaries, and I think for the third meeting, we had already created a world. So they are using things like Mid-Journey and all to create, and it's in the meeting. In the meeting, they are busy looking at their laptops and done. It's ready. But there are lovely companies also within the film industry right now that are involved. That really like their Paperclip, and there are other companies like this that we use, which get deep into you know, from logos to this flag, to this thing. This flag was not used in 1990 and was in 1932. These kind of things. So, you know, because what happens, sir, is that you'll make something, 2 years of your life will be dedicated to make something. Then, I mean, pardon my, some idiot on YouTube will pause and he'll put a round over there and say, "Ye nahi tha." You know? So we have to get it right. You know, we have to get it right.
True. No, you gave a very good idea how smartly you are using AI for research and optimization and fact check, and not using AI to write.
No. No. Yeah. The advantage of not knowing how to use a computer is that I don't know, I don't have ChatGPT. So I don't know.
Sudeep, एक term जो बिल्कुल catch phrase बन गया, how to depict an average Indian guy who's struggling, still has some great noble ideas in his head, and he works towards that. Hathi Ram, please talk us about that.
I mean,
how did you discover that character which resonated so much?
I think it was a lot of iterations. We kind of found Hathiram, discovered Hathiram as we went along on this journey 9 years ago, 10 years ago, in fact, back in 2015-16 was when we started, and the first season of Patal Lok came out in 2020. So it was a long time making, and what happens then is, you evolve the character over a period of time, over multiple writing, and then the actor comes in, he brings his own thing, and then on set there's some other magic that happens. If I could say now with the benefit of hindsight, I don't think we knew, hindsight is always 20/20, but now probably I could say that there was this something very authentic and honest about Hathiram that connects. He is not trying to be anyone else. And I think that quality is what has really connected with most people. We all struggle to find who we are and represent that and to be that all the time. He is that one person who never for one moment struggles with that. He knows who he is, and he's absolutely comfortable in his own skin with being who he is. He also surprises you at times. So just when you think you have figured him out, कि अच्छा ये conservative type का आदमी है, he'll do something very very liberal, or he'll do something very different. Sometimes you would think that he's this rough person, this rough exterior, but when you see him interact with a child and your heart melts because now he has surprised you again. I think it's just that authenticity in him and that ability to surprise you with his decisions and with his actions is what has really stood out. But again, it's all hindsight. I wish I knew it. I wish I knew the formula, because then I would replicate it across for all my characters,
So how new authenticity in selecting stories have come of age, that's true. But it will be very insightful for all of us to know, Gaurav, that because we keep debating this sitting in Mumbai, who is watching us. Then we think that we know business a bit, then we talk in the terms of SEC, A, B, blah, blah. How things have changed dramatically. Give some color on that.
Aditi, on this one, the thing is that when you, the marketing business answer would be, we segment our customers. We say this is this kind of customer who prefers this taste, this preferences, this shows they watch. That's one part of the story, and how deep you want to go. Some stories are broader, some stories are very targeted. But I think ultimately when you create a show, you want that show and the character to be someone's favorite. It's touched people's heart, and the character has to stay with you for a very long time. The next season comes in. It can't be that you watched it and you went away and next. How do you have the character become part of your life? So when we're looking at series with all of these amazing creators, and that reason they talk about the years it takes of work and research and preparedness is that truly writer's medium. They have to write that stories and characters in a way that can touch people's hearts and stay with them. And then the actor and the creators, directors, the entire crew and the actors come and deliver that. So I think for us, the main thing first is ki, obviously look at a segment of customers who are watching, and we have the benefit of the fact that you are able to understand what stories are working, what are not, but you have to always surprise people. If you keep doing formulaic stuff, then it goes away. And one other thing we said was, in the beginning itself, the slate that we have to create has to be balanced. It has to have diversity in the slate, just like our audiences. Otherwise, you'll make the same shows. Everything has to be a crime show. Everything becomes a period show. Like, why do we have diversity here, sitting here with the creators? No one show looks like the other. No one show talks to all the customers in the same way. Maybe all of the shows are popular and watched by everyone, but the point is for different reasons. So I think that is a very, very important point for us. Of course, data and insights and research from an audience perspective is an important element. But the creator's instinct and how the story touches people, and Sudeep's right, it's a lot of this hindsight as well, but the point is when you're going in, it's a business of intuition, it's a business of creativity, instinct, and of course you bring science to where possible, and you blend the two together. So I think we blend that. But again, it's a love of the audiences that helps us to, how do you make the season 2 better, bigger, quicker, which I keep telling all of these folks. But yes, that's where we do.
Right. So now in OTT space, because that is your prime platform, so there is good competition in India. And yesterday data was thrown that 45 billion hours of Indian content has been consumed globally. It's a big number. I want to understand from you a bit more about this. How to exploit this opportunity at a scale.
I think the good part is that the green shoots of that are already in play. So if you look at our original shows that we create in India, almost 1/4 of the viewership for those shows is already coming out of India. So it's not just Indian diaspora or Indians living abroad. It's across geographies, different kinds of people are watching. So that's been really wonderful. Even if you look at from a perspective of recognition and awards, so many of our shows and movies have been recognized, including Jubilee and The Hard and many more. So that those green shoots are already in place. I think what we need to do is continue to create stories which are very authentic and Indian, rooted, because that's what makes them special outside. That's what makes them unique. There's no comparison point then. It feels like, hey, I haven't watched this. Your emotions are universal, but the storytelling has to be deeply authentic and Indian. And I feel that magic has already started playing out. We can see it in the way these shows and movies are being consumed outside India. Yes, we haven't had one huge breakout moment yet, but I feel in the next couple of years, we're on the cusp of that moment happening because the green shoots are already in play.
I just want to add one piece to what Nikhil was saying. I think, आपको मैं एक fact दूंगा. In the last 1 year, every single week globally, there was at least one Indian show or a movie in the global top 10 for us. And I think that's a big deal to have it every single week. Of course, so many shows, become like top ranks in the first few weeks. But to have consistently being there, to a point Nikhil was making, why is this changing? There are two parts. We're obviously creating great stories which are sitting side by side to great stories from around the world. And they are sitting, competing for time, attention, and winning. The second thing is, technology has helped take out the barriers. In the past, again, if you had a problem of 10,000 screens in India catering to such a large population, imagine that problem around the world. Only a handful of people got to watch our films. Even our shows, in TV shows, you only had to be available in South Asian packs and so on. Now you actually are able to give the reach to 200 plus countries and territories. You're able to give reach to somebody who's not necessarily only watching Indian content, but watching a story of, to Nikhil's point, of themes, of courage and valor. Could be from anywhere. To women with agency, to be from anywhere. So how do you look at, serving that content to that customer, who can then now look at the story saying, wow, I love this Indian show, which resonates with me not because it's the Indian show, because it's a great global story. So I feel the green shoots are there, visible. We are on a verge of having really breakout hits as well across, not just from Prime Video, but across. But I think the important point is to not be complacent, right? We're just getting started and we are truly in the golden age of creation in India, and platforms like these are amazing. But I think the thing is not to have complacency and pat our backs too quickly. It's a great start in a long innings for all of us. That's what I would say.
True. So in terms of doing that kind of hard work, the kind of enabling ecosystem that we require, I would want you three veterans to talk about this part. Because the whole idea of Wave Summit is to catalyze the ecosystem, the stakeholders. And there are issues from business models to writing a contract to taxation to technology and access to talent and training, everything. So I think you all have some thoughts on this already crystallized in your heads. Start with Sudeep.
In terms of, I think the ecosystem, as Vikram was saying earlier, it's getting created compared to say where we were 10 years back. I think we are in a far better shape. It's also, especially when it comes to platforms or when it comes to series and shows, we did not really, we did not have content in that form earlier. There was either films or television. So we are very, very like early on the learning curve. We are only 9-10 years. Sacred Games was probably the first one, and and along with that, Patal Lok came out in 2020. So it's just been very, very early on that. But I think the first thing that we as writers and creators need to do, I think, is just honing our crafts. And as filmmakers, I think honing our crafts to become better at it. Everything else is getting created as we speak. But personally, that's been my philosophy. I prefer sticking to my work and just make sure that you get better at what you do, and everything else will kind of take care of itself. Has been my mantra.
I think it's already happening especially in Prime Video, where you have the diversity of content. What I would like to see more is stories coming from the heartland, coming from, I think what we missed for many years in between was the fact that your storytelling generations, if you started off from the Indian film industry genesis, is where you had filmmakers from Punjab and Bengal who would come to Bombay and stay over here, and then they would end up making their films, but they brought stories with them. And I think the second and third generation were city-bred people who had lost that connection. And I believe that the way the streaming services and Prime Video in particular is being able to reach out once again with stories from now, whether it's Panchayat, whether it's Dupaiya, or whether it's it's Patal Lok. I think that there is a certain amount of broadness in storytelling that is coming back, and I think I'd like to see more of that. I'd like to see more of the fact that being able to connect from stories from small towns, from villages, from people that you would normally not meet, but whose stories are captivating. And I think building that bridge between those storytellers and the streamers in whatever way, and enabling them, helping them, assisting them, connecting them to the right filmmakers, the right people, I think is the next step. It's already there, it's already happening, but I think it should accelerate a little bit more.
I think that when I was walking up 3 floors, I already met some 10-15 young boys, young people, and they were pitching their story. I think what I love about the film bazaar that happens in Goa, what happens, and Waves also, is that the opportunity for young people to be able to, connect with us. At the end of the day, we are also constantly, we were also talking about it earlier, we are still hustling, we are still pitching, we are still trying to put out a different idea. And there are people, I mean, full marks to Amazon Prime Video, Madhok and his team, that they are constantly also knowing fully well what will work, not work, or might work, might not work. They still encourage, try it. Let's see what happens to it. But I think that, so just to go back, the fact that you can get access to somebody who's already seemingly made it, right? In the sense, I think the other important thing, sir, is that when we get onto a stage, now we can demystify the whole process of how we took this great shot and how we did this. Like what Sudeep said, it happened. It was conversation. Things worked out. Things did not work out. So the struggle is very real, right? And for young people over here who are disheartened and wondering कि होगा नहीं होगा कैसे होगा कब होगा, to hear our stories also is very important. That it's not at all easy. It's very, very tough. We are also discovering every day. I met this young boy who was showing me something about animation, and he said he can do everything on his laptop. I'd like to meet him. Why not? I mean, everything everywhere all at once was made by 5 people on a laptop. They did the VFX. So we are also looking for innovation. We are also looking for things like Waves and all is great for us to meet up with these people. I know all the platforms have their creative teams listening to pitches. They're listening to pitches all the time. That one breakout show what Madhok is talking about might not come from either of the 3 of us. Might come from this one boy who has an idea, from some small town in Punjab. I mean that the entire Punjab track of Sudeep's first Patal Lok, I think it's a film, So yeah.
This is very encouraging, and how to really make sure, Gaurav and Nikhil, that there is a democratic access. There is open-mindedness to listen to pitches, because it may be a waste of time and somebody will come with a very amateurish job. But giving that one listening is important, because what is happening in the country with mobile phone, that everyone has a story, everyone is a creator, everyone has something unique about oneself.
And everyone has a review also, sir.
Yes, absolutely. So how do we make sure that people have that platform and an opportunity to at least pitch?
Yeah, so actually, me and my team, we hear a lot of pitches. We are actually quite accessible. There are two modes. Of course, you can reach us directly and we hear stories directly as well. But given there are a certain number of people and there are lots more stories coming, which is incredible, we also have a platform in which you can submit your story. And every single story that's submitted on that platform, the creative team reads every single log line, every single script, whatever written material has been submitted to us, so that we're able to sift from that and pick out the gems and go forward. And there are multiple cases. I would say at this stage, probably about 25% of the shows which are under development are with people who are first-time creators, who came to us either directly or through the platform. We like the material and we've progressed to start developing with them. Shubin, Salona, you would like to talk about Dupaiya, your experience?
Yeah, so on Dupaiya, we had heard the original idea with the writers, we brainstormed on it, and what we put together is a Bible and a pilot. The pilot episode has the entire screenplay with dialogues, पूरे characters अच्छे से fleshed out हैं, वो कैसे बात करते हैं, कहानी कैसे आगे बढ़ती है. And Bible is basically an episode breakdown of each episode, and we have 9 episodes, so what happens in terms of the story in all 9 episodes. And that's what we submitted to Alankrita, who was our development executive at Prime, and she read it, believed in it, and took it forward in the system. So there are certain formats in place in which you can present the story. Once you do that, I think you do get a fair hearing today. कुछ बात होगी कहानी में तो जवाब जरूर आएगा. So वो resilience रखें और वो patience रखें.
I think the one thing to add to this is that in this whole process, there has to be intentionality to get diverse voices, newer creators to come in, and existing creators to pitch, and great stories to win. There has to be preparedness, right? The time, all of this talked about of building the story, building the Bibles, building all of that. It takes its time, it takes its effort. And the fact, Sudeep mentioned, we are practically as an industry doing this only for the last 10 years, unlike writing movies and movies for the last 70, 100 years. And the third one is we have to remember, it's a creative business. There are hits and misses. And you cannot be discouraged by the misses. You can learn from the misses. Right? So everything you make does not going to necessarily work. But you have to learn from that and see what worked in that and then build on that. So I think there is genuinely that risk-taking appetite from the creators first, and then from the services like us to there. And what challenges us, is actually nothing else but the fact that every time there's a good show anywhere, the standards rise for the industry. So customers are the ultimate challengers. They are the ones saying, "Ye badhiya hai, isse badhiya dikhaiye." That's why you see better and better stories coming every year across the board from services. So we are all very early in this. We are one service, there are others, but we are very early in this stage, and we are all learning from everyone together, and from our customers to tell us that this is the one we want, we love this, give us more of this.
Wonderful. Again, last question to you only, Gaurav, which is about diversity, and we are talking about Indian stories and showcasing Indian culture. So diversity of language is also a very interesting and challenging area in our country, and some languages are doing wonderfully great job. So how OTT platforms and other platforms are handling that, managing that, where that rich diversity is also showcased at a global scale?
I think the language diversity is a great point, and it's not just in India but around the world. And I think multiple layers of that. So I can give you 2 or 3 areas how we work on this. We started the thing by saying at least we'll program in 10 languages in India. And obviously we were started out with licensing films from all of these languages. We want to make sure people can watch across the country. Very quickly we realized that large part of the viewing of a Malayalam film came from outside Kerala. Large part of the viewing from Tamil film came within and outside. So we said, this is a great opportunity to double down on that. And we said, we started with making shows, original shows in Hindi. We went to Tamil and Telugu. And then we said, this is great. How do we make this surface across the board for people to access easily? Subtitling, dubbing, all of that. Then we said, our interface itself, how do we make that more accessible? It's in English. Can we make it Hindi, Tamil, Telugu? Then we said, this is great. How do you make global stories travel in India? How do you make Indian stories travel around the world? You have to obviously localize to a degree to make sure people can understand subtitles and because there are two languages in a story. There is the language of medium and there's the emotional language. The emotional language travels around the world, right? But you have to create the language of the dialogues and piece to come into play so people can access that emotional language. So I think there's a lot of work our teams do, not just our content teams, but our marketing teams, our PR teams, all our team, our localization teams, the full machinery which works to make these stories travel around the world. And we are learning each time. But again, to my point, इसमें intentionality बहुत ज़रूरी है. You have to be intentional about it. It won't have. I mean, obviously there are serendipity moments and things break out, but the intentionality to make stories travel within India and outside India is very important for our ecosystem as an industry, creative industry to grow.
Fascinating conversation. जैसा आपने कहा कि global outlook and experience, local sensibilities, and grounded, rooted, sharp filmmakers like this group here. I am sure Wave Summit next year when we meet here again, there will be much more fascinating stories to be shared with you all. Thank you so much for sparing time for us.
Many thanks to all the speakers and the moderator. Now I request Mr. Raviraj Sartape, the Director from Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, to please come on the stage and felicitate all the speakers and the moderator. A huge round of applause for this yet another interesting session by NDTV on the sidelines of Waves. Well, this is the first edition of Waves, but it is already creating tremors all across the country and the world. I request everybody to please stand together for a quick photo opportunity. And with this, it's a wrap on day 2 of Waves, but the action will continue once again on day 3. And tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. onwards, we again begin with the day with super interesting stats, facts, and sessions. The first session of day 3 will be Next Wave, the future of Indian entrepreneurship. And you will have a very interesting session by Aman Gupta and Anupam Mittal, who comes from Boat and Shadi.com, the two great entrepreneurs from India. So come, do join us tomorrow for the next session that will take place at 10 o'clock in the morning. Thank you so much for joining us right now. Namaskar.
आध्यात्मिकता